At the family dinner, I said, "Can't wait for the family reunion." My sister laughed. "You're not invited. It's for real family." Everyone laughed. I just smiled and left. My name is Sloan Mercer. I'm 31. And if you think you know how this ends, stay tuned. Do you know the exact moment love turns into currency? For me, it was the sound of my sister's laughter echoing across that dinner table, slicing through my ribs like glass. The irony? I'd paid for that meal. Every single one of them sitting there, my parents, my sister, her husband, had eaten on my dime. I covered rent when Dad lost his job, paid Mom's medical bills, even sent money for their anniversary trip to Nashville. But gratitude is temporary when entitlement's inherited. Growing up, I was the responsible one, the boring sister who worked 2 jobs while my sister, Paige, became the family's golden child. I thought adulthood would balance things out. Instead, it made the hierarchy official. Paige's mistakes were cute. Mine were embarrassing. That dinner was the first time I didn't try to fix it. I just smiled, paid the bill, and walked away without a word. 4 days later, Dad tried to pull $3,600 from our shared account, the one I'd opened for his medical emergencies, not family reunions. I stared at the notification and took a slow breath. Then I transferred every cent into a new account and sent a screenshot. Payment denied. Must be that family-only policy. No words, just silence after. 2 days later, I was curled up on my couch, laptop open, when I heard it, a loud, deliberate knock at my door. The kind that doesn't ask permission. The kind that means they came to collect. The knocking grew louder, heavy, impatient, almost rhythmic. For a second, I thought maybe it was a delivery. But then came her voice. "Sloan, open up." It was Paige. I froze, phone still in my hand. The same sister who'd laughed in my face 2 nights earlier now sounded like she was rehearsing outrage. I opened the door just enough to see her. Designer bag, smudged lipstick, eyes sharp with fake tears. "Dad's furious," she said, stepping inside without being invited. "You embarrassed him. He couldn't even pay for his medication because you froze the account." I blinked. He was trying to pull out $3,600 for a caterer, Paige. She rolled her eyes. "It's all family money. Why are you acting like you're above everyone?" I leaned against the doorframe, arms crossed. "Because I earned it. Every dollar. You just collect it." Her lips curled. "You always think you're better, don't you? The saint who sacrifices for everyone." She laughed, bitter. "Newsflash, Sloan. No one needs your martyr act anymore." Something inside me snapped, but not the way it used to. I didn't yell. I didn't defend myself. I just walked to my kitchen counter, grabbed a small folder, and handed it to her. "What's this?" she said, flipping through. "Receipts," I said. "The Nashville trip? Paid by me. Dad's surgery? Paid by me. Your husband's startup loan? Paid by me. And that family reunion you were mocking me about? I paid the deposit on the venue 6 months ago. But don't worry, I canceled it this morning." Her face fell. "You didn't?" "Oh, I did. Guess you'll have to find a new sponsor for your real family." Paige's voice trembled. "You're cruel." "No," I said quietly. "I'm finally done paying for love that never existed." She stood frozen, speechless for once. Then she turned and stormed out. But something told me this wasn't over, because Paige never fought alone. I didn't hear from Paige for 24 hours. That should have been a relief. Instead, it was the kind of silence that buzzed, like the air before a storm. The next afternoon, while I was finishing client reports, my phone started blowing up. Unknown numbers, private calls, messages flooding in. "Sloan, what's wrong with Dad? He says you stole from him. Why would you take all his money?" I opened social media and felt my stomach twist. Paige had posted a long, carefully written paragraph under an old family photo, us at the beach, all fake smiles. It breaks my heart to see my sister do this. Family helps family, but I guess some people change when money does. Please keep Dad in your prayers. 200 comments. Sympathy. Outrage. My name wasn't tagged, but it didn't have to be. Everyone knew. Eli, my fiancé, called immediately. Don't respond, he said. They want attention. They'll burn themselves out. But that's the thing about liars. They don't run out of fuel when people keep feeding them. By evening, Mom texted me. You've gone too far this time. Dad's blood pressure spiked. If anything happens, it's on you. I sat on the edge of my bed, shaking. The irony? I was the one who paid for his medicine last month. I pulled up my online banking again. The family account balance still sat at $0. I'd left it that way intentionally, a mirror for what I felt. The next morning, there was another knock. Softer this time. I opened the door to find Dad. Pale. Older. Quieter than I remembered. He didn't shout. Didn't accuse. He just looked at me and said, You didn't have to humiliate us. Dad, I whispered. You did that yourselves. But when he turned to leave, I saw something in his eyes. Fear. Not of me. Of what Paige had done that I hadn't discovered yet. And I had a feeling that whatever it was, it involved more than money. Dad's visit stayed with me long after the door closed. The way his shoulders hunched, the tremor in his voice, it didn't feel like anger anymore. It felt like shame, but not his own. That night, I logged into my old shared financial dashboard, the one I'd used to manage Dad's bills. The access was still active. I shouldn't have looked, but something inside me said check. When the screen loaded, my hands went cold. Multiple withdrawals. All small, $200, $300, $450, recurring every week for the past 6 months. Each labeled under a name I didn't recognize. P. Designs Consulting. I clicked the details. The linked account belonged to Paige. I felt my jaw tighten. While they mocked me for being the stingy sister, she'd been quietly siphoning money from our father's medical fund, using it for her so-called interior design business. I opened my emails, searching through Dad's old payment alerts. There it was, a message forwarded weeks ago to my sister's address. She'd been using his login credentials. My login credentials. I didn't know whether to scream or laugh. Instead, I printed every record, labeled each transaction, and slipped them into a brown envelope. The truth always looks heavier on paper. The next morning, I called Dad. I need you to see something, I said. He hesitated. Is this about the money? It's about the person you think is saving you, I said quietly. He came by that afternoon. When he sat down, I slid the folder across the table. His fingers shook as he flipped through the pages. With every line he read, his breathing changed. When he finally looked up, his voice was small. She took this much from me? Yes, I said softly. And blamed me to keep you looking the other way. He stared at the floor, eyes clouded with realization. I let her turn me against you. I nodded. You didn't let her, Dad. You trusted her. I did too. He whispered, almost to himself. What are you going to do now? I looked at the envelope still open between us and said, something I should have done years ago. I didn't sleep that night. The sound of Dad's voice, broken, bewildered, kept replaying in my head. Part of me wanted to call Paige and unleash everything I'd kept buried for years. But the calmer part, the woman who had stopped begging for love, knew shouting wouldn't fix what deceit had already hollowed out. Instead, I opened my laptop and started building a file. Every screenshot, transaction, date, and message went into labeled folders. Proof. At 8 a.m., I called Grace Collins, my lawyer, the same woman who'd helped me separate my business from the family years ago. She listened without interrupting, then asked the question I'd been avoiding. You ready to make this official? Yes, I said. But I don't want revenge. I want accountability. By noon, Grace drafted a fraud affidavit and sent copies of the records to my father's email. He'd need to confirm the losses. It was his account, after all. When he called an hour later, his voice was shaking. I signed it, he said. I can't believe it, Sloan. My own daughter. I didn't say me too. Some truths are too sharp to repeat. 2 days later, Paige showed up again. No warning, just pounding on the door like before. This time, I didn't answer. Through the glass, she shouted, "You think you're smart, huh? You turned Dad against me." Her words cracked, and for a second, I saw the little girl who used to steal my crayons and hide behind Mom's legs. But then she hissed, "You'll regret this," and the illusion shattered. That night, I forwarded the entire case file to the local authorities. Grace assured me they'd contact her soon, and that my involvement would stay minimal. Before bed, I walked to the mirror, staring at my reflection. For years, I'd imagined justice would feel loud, cinematic. But it didn't. It felt quiet, steady. I whispered to my reflection, "Let the truth do the talking now." And for the first time, I didn't flinch at my own eyes. The call came 3 days later. Grace's tone was calm, but beneath it, I could hear the spark of something final. "They've confirmed the fraud, Sloan. The investigation's moving forward. Your father's statement sealed it." I sat there in silence, holding my mug of coffee like it might float away. "What happens now?" I asked. "She'll be contacted by the Financial Crimes Division," Grace replied. "You don't have to do anything. Just live your life." Live my life. It sounded simple, but I'd spent years surviving, not living. Later that day, my father called again. His voice was low, weighed down by guilt. "I don't know how to face her," he said. "You don't have to," I replied. "She made her choices." He sighed. "You sound like your mother." That caught me off guard. Mom had passed 5 years earlier, her absence another wound that time never truly dressed. "She always wanted us to stay close," he said softly. "Then she should have taught us how," I whispered. That night, as the sun dropped behind Portland's skyline, I sat on my balcony. The city lights shimmered like tiny promises, imperfect, distant, but still there. My phone buzzed once more, an unknown number. I ignored it. Then came a text. "You destroyed everything. Hope you're proud. Paige." I typed a reply, then deleted it. Silence was stronger. Hours later, I opened my email and saw a message from the police liaison, confirming they'd contacted Paige. No drama. No spectacle. Just a system doing what truth demanded. I forwarded it to Grace, and then closed my laptop. Eli came outside, draping a blanket over my shoulders. "How's your heart?" he asked quietly. "Unlearning old loyalties," I said. He smiled faintly. "Painful lesson?" I nodded. "Necessary one." Below us, the city pulsed, alive, unaware of the quiet victories unfolding in small apartments like mine. And in that moment, I realized justice didn't always roar. Sometimes it whispered, "You were right to walk away." A week later, the noise was gone. No calls. No messages. Just the hum of my apartment and the low thrum of Portland rain against the windows. The silence felt strange at first, too calm, too still, but slowly it started to feel like oxygen. Dad stopped by one evening, holding a grocery bag instead of his usual excuses. He looked older, smaller somehow, but also lighter. "I brought dinner," he said, smiling weakly. He'd made spaghetti, my favorite when I was little. We ate quietly for a while before he said, "The detective came by today." Paige admitted to taking the money. My fork paused midair. "She confessed." He nodded. "She tried to say you framed her at first. But when they showed her the paper trail, she broke down." A dull ache spread through my chest. Not victory. Not satisfaction. Just grief for the family that could have been. Dad reached for my hand. "You know, I didn't realize how much you've carried. I let her paint you as selfish. You were the only one holding us together." I swallowed hard. "I just wanted to be part of the family, Dad. That's all I ever wanted." He exhaled slowly. "I know. And I'm sorry you had to buy your way into love that should have been free." For a moment, we just sat there, two people trying to rebuild something fragile. The rain softened outside, and I realized that even if forgiveness wasn't complete, it had started. When Dad left, I stood at the window, watching his car fade into the night. My reflection looked unfamiliar, calmer, grounded. That's when my phone buzzed again, an email from Grace. Paige accepted a plea agreement. No trial. Restitution to your father. Case closed. 2 words stood out. Case closed. But for me, it wasn't closure yet. There was one last thing left to do, something not for justice, not for revenge, but for peace. Because sometimes, the only way to end a legacy of debt is to forgive it completely. 2 months later, the world had settled into a new rhythm. The investigation was over. Dad had moved to a smaller apartment near the coast, and I'd finally stopped checking my phone expecting chaos. Peace, I learned, doesn't arrive like a sunrise. It creeps in quietly until you realize you're not flinching anymore. That morning, I wrote a letter. No anger. No defense. Just truth.
Page.
I'm not writing to reopen wounds. I'm writing to close mine. You took money that wasn't yours, but what hurt most wasn't the theft. It was how easily you made me your villain. I'm not sending this to punish you. I'm sending it to release both of us. I forgive you. But forgiveness doesn't mean forgetting. It means I won't carry this anymore.
Sloan.
I sealed it and mailed it to her last known address, not because she deserved it, but because I did. Later that evening, Dad called from the coast. You okay? He asked. I am, I said. And for once, I wasn't lying. He chuckled softly. You always were the strong one. No, I replied. I just learned how to stop apologizing for being strong. After we hung up, I sat by my window, watching the rain start again, soft, unhurried, familiar. My mind wandered back to that night at the family dinner table, their laughter echoing in my chest. I remembered how small I felt walking away, how lonely. But that version of me, the one who stayed quiet to keep peace, didn't exist anymore. Now, the silence wasn't loneliness. It was ownership. I checked my banking app out of habit. Balance stable, everything exactly where it should be. For the first time in years, no one else's name appeared on the account. I smiled, closed the laptop, and whispered to the room. Guess I finally made it into the real family. Just me. Then I turned off the lights, locked the door, and let the rain play my victory song. This time it wasn't about revenge. It was about finally keeping what was mine, peace.